Hey there folks, this is Kurt Bope, and I'm joined by Sentinel softball reporter Chris Hopkins. We're here to break down tomorrow's PIAA Class AAA softball championship. This preview is brought to you by Sailors Markets. Chris, tomorrow's game, Big Spring, Valley View, 12:30, Happy Valley. Tell us a little bit, how'd they get here?
Big Spring, first of all, they're here because of pitching, number one. Callie Pastor, Taylor Mansfield, they've just been phenomenal throughout the state playoff run. Pastor in the semifinals, it was a near perfect game. She allowed one base runner through the first 6 innings. That was against a tough Montour team there, so their pitching has been outstanding. That's what's been the big thing for them. Another thing, it's been somebody new every game. It's unbelievable. Callum told me in the very first playoff game, it's a different girl stepping up for us every game, and they've proven them right. Brittany Wagner there in that third place game in the District 3 to get them into state playoffs, hit a grand slam in a close ball game at the time. So it was her. Mansfield actually started that game. It wasn't Pastor, so she threw a great game that game. And then in the first round of the state playoffs, Taylor Mansfield delivered. She used her bat this time, had the game-winning double, the only run of the game. Pastor in the circle threw a shutout. So it was those two in the first round. Then it was Painter in the quarterfinals. With an RBI double. Brooke Sullivan had a double. Pastor and Mansfield both in the circle. It's been incredible how it's a whole team effort to get them there, and it's been a great run for them. And then in the semifinals again, Pastor was just absolutely lights out. She only allowed 3 hits offensively too. It was her bat that led them there with a triple and a double. Big Spring scored 4 unearned runs that game, but it's just been a total team effort. Calvin talked about Pastor saying she's at the absolute top of her game right now, and it's showing. It's a great time to be at the top of your game and going into the state final there. And it's kind of weird though. Pastor refuses to admit she's at the top of her game. She keeps saying she's not feeling too great in the circle, but to not feel too great, she's throwing one heck of a game out there. So
right.
It's been a great run by Big Spring, and now here they are, their first time ever in the state playoffs. Here they are in the state finals.
Very exciting. And I know you talked to Callum on Tuesday, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
How are they preparing? How are they getting ready for Friday?
It was interesting because I expect them to kind of have a relaxed attitude going into the practice there. They had 4 days in between their games. It's at the very end of the season. You can't really teach too much else. But he said no, they celebrated that night on Monday on the drive home, but Tuesday was all back to work. 2.5 hours they spent in the batting cage. So, they're determined. This team has not quit at all. They've said from the very beginning, I asked them after every game, how does it feel to be in the state playoffs? How does it feel to be headed to the finals? Every time. It's a great feeling, but we're not there yet. We're not where we want to be yet. So, and they're showing it. Calvin said, they were celebrating, but there was no horsing around when it comes time to practice. And this team wants that state title, and they're really showing it.
Definitely peaking at the right time.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about Valley View? Is that Scranton area?
They're from the Scranton area, yeah. I hadn't really known anything about them, but just doing some research on them, they're 20-0 right now. So they haven't lost all season. That could be kind of intimidating to some teams, but I don't think it's going to be too Big Spring. I got the chance to coach with their head. I got the chance to talk with their head coach, E.J. Weston. He preached to me that it's been consistency. Consistency has been the biggest thing for them to get to that 20-0 mark. They got here with a win over Manheim Central, just a 1-0 game. They were actually in the same spot last year, facing Manheim Central in the semifinals, and they lost that game 1-0 on a drop pop-up by them in the infield. This game, almost the tables completely turned, where it was a drop pop-up by Manheim Central that allowed them to score the only run of the game, and they won 1-0. So now, here they are, 20-0. The big thing for them has been their pitching. Gina Cifello has been an outstanding pitcher for them. Just a junior, she's thrown every inning of every game for them. Just a .34 ERA, 157 strikeouts. That's what gets you here, though. That's what Calvin told me. He said, I told the girls, once you get to the state playoffs, once you get to the state finals, everybody's going to have a pitcher. It's pitching that gets you to this point in the season. So, between Mansfield and Pastor, Big Spring is not too shabby in the circle either. So I don't think they're intimidated by all these numbers that Valley View is bringing in. It's definitely going to be a good pitching matchup, and both teams are bringing the pitching that it takes to get to the state finals.
They say pitching wins championships, so we'll see what happens when you have two elite pitchers going at it. But can you give us just a little something to watch for?
Yeah, the interesting thing I found with both these teams, it's been pitching that's gotten them this far, like I just said. Both teams have only allowed 1 run for the first 3 games, so it's been pitching all the way. And another thing is they both scored 8 runs to the first 3 games, so it's about as evenly matched as we could get here. So the one thing you're definitely going to know that's going to be there is the pitching. That's going to be there. The key to me is which team is going to have that big hit, which team is going to break out of, not a slump, it's just they're facing good pitching, but which team is going to get that big hit to send them to the championship. It could be that big hit, or both teams are going to have to play sound defense. Whichever team breaks in the field has that error, has that mental mistake, that could be the difference too. So both teams are going to need some sound defense. Both teams are going to need to get that big hit because the pitching is going to be there. It's probably going to be a very low-scoring game, as most games have been to this point. You're not going to win games 8-7 when you get to this stage in the playoffs. It's going to be 3-2. It's going to be 2-1. 1 run could be all it takes. So whichever team can produce that hit. Another thing I'd watch out for on Big Spring is Ashley Baker. The Big Spring catcher, she had a tremendous regular season, but once she got to the starting districts, teams found out, we can't pitch this girl. This girl could beat us. If you throw her a strike, she's probably going to hit it out of the park. So she hasn't been getting her pitches to hit. That necessarily hasn't been a bad thing for Big Spring, because the girls around her have been picking up the slack, getting the hits. Baker's been getting intentionally walked, getting base runners on. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but if this Valley View team breaks that trend, throws to her, she could be the difference there too. Again, she only has 1 hit to the state playoffs, but it's not because she's slumping, it's because she's not getting the pitches to hit. So if Valley View throws to her, watch out for Ashley Baker. She's shown that she could be a hitter, and I truly believe that this could be a breakout game for her if she gets that pitch to hit.
Awesome. All right, fact is, you guys made me pick the soccer finals, so time to turn the tables. 2 teams, undefeated Valley View, but then Big Spring. Who are you going with, and what's your score?
I've watched this Big Spring team all season long. I haven't seen Valley View too much, but a 20-0 record speaks for itself. But this run that I've seen Big Spring go through has just been tremendous. I mean, the bats have been there when they needed it to. The pitching has been there when they've needed it. Every girl is stepping up, and they know their role. That's a big thing Calvin preaches. These girls know the roles that they're expected to take on this team, and they're fulfilling it. So if Big Spring needs that late inning hit, or I think if Pastor's just going to continue on as she's been doing, she's just going to be lights out again. So I've just seen too many great things out of this Big Spring team. I just think it's gonna be Big Spring again, low scoring. I'm going to pick the Bulldogs 2-1, take home the state title.
There you have it, folks. And for what it's worth, Sentinel's already picked 1 state champion correctly. Maybe another, we'll see. Maybe a little Sentinel luck going. But Chris, thank you very much, and thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Cumberland Link all weekend, especially tomorrow. We're going to have a live blog of the game that'll be up around noon. We'll have a couple stories from Chris and Bill Landis. We're going to have video from the game. We're going to have all sorts of good stuff. So be sure to follow cumberlandlink.com or follow us on Twitter, CLink Sports, and then, of course, like us on Facebook at The Sentinel Sports. I've got a ton of good stuff there as well. Again, thanks for watching, and stay tuned as we see if Big Spring can beat Valley View.